Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, I kind of wanted to give you guys sort of a progress report on what's been going on with the project. I'm kind of at a stopping point on all fronts because I'm sort of in the middle of waiting for parts, and I'll get into that in just a second. But there's been a lot going on, and I can't wait to talk a little bit about all of the progress that's been made. So to start with, I first want to talk about how I'm sort of kind of calling this part the bottom of the build. What I mean by that is that I actually have nothing else to take apart. I have taken apart the engine, I've taken the stock engine out of the car, I've taken apart all of the interior to take the dash out, and it's just, I would have thought that this point would have come when I was taking the engine out of the car, but no, there's so much more to disassemble. So hopefully from here on out, I'm either at the bottom of the build or the top of the build, depending on your perspective. So from here on out, it's going to be reassembling everything and putting it back in the car, and I'm super excited about that. The first thing I want to talk about as far as progress goes is that I've reinstalled the suspension, got the right kind this time, and then I've had the brake calipers rebuilt, and I've installed them back on the car with new rotors and pads, as well as stainless steel lines. So ideally, the car should be able to stop very, very well. Unfortunately, I rubbed a lot of paint off of the calipers, so I'll probably have to be touching them up with paint a little bit. If you're in my situation, I would strongly encourage you to have them powder coated or something like that, as opposed to using just paint off the shelf, or maybe it's just operator error. So next has been building up the engine. So I've got the 07K engine. I'm actually shooting footage for a video on how to prep that engine, including things like replacing the timing chain guides and the timing chain itself. That is sitting right next to me here. You can see it here. You can see the new tensioners and chain guides, but that's going to be all part of the video that's coming up. And that kind of leads me into talking about the part where I'm at right now, is that I need the oil pan from the Bruce Brothers Garage Swap Kit. Now, they have them in stock at the moment, so I'm expecting it to get shipped out within the next week or two, but honestly, this kit, I ordered it back in June of 2021, and every single deadline they've promised has been blown. A lot of that has been, the labor shortage, so it's been very difficult to get them all ready to go, and I appreciate that. But it's definitely, now I'm at the point where I definitely need those parts before I can progress any further forward on this build. So I've been kind of sitting on my hands quite a bit waiting for that to happen. And that leads me to the next thing that I started working on, which is tearing the interior apart. I didn't record that because it's really tedious and is kind of a lot of work, but I now have my entire garage filled up with parts at this point, including the engine parts, the stock engine parts, the old parts in the corner over there, and now I have a bunch of interior parts that are piled up in the corner of my garage as well. Hopefully I'll be able to put it all back in together without too much of a problem. But I've taken out the dash and the interior of the car to get at two things. First of all, there's cracks in the dash, and that I want to try to repair. Not really sure how I'm going to go about that, so if you guys have any suggestions on ways that I can fix the cracked dash, let me know in the comments down below. And then secondly, I need to get to the evaporator inside of the car, so that way I can actually start reconfiguring the air conditioning. Now, I spent a lot of time trying to get stock parts to mate up with new parts at the firewall, but it's not working because I really wanted to avoid tearing the dash out on this part of the project. One more thing I almost forgot to mention is that while I was taking the driver's seat out, I uncovered some damage under this pad that the previous owner had left behind. If you take a closer look here, you can actually see that the color has actually been ripped off by the tape that was on here, and there are splits in the seat, so it's pretty bad. Currently it's with an upholsterer, so hopefully that'll be put back together and look really, really good before it goes back in the car. So yeah, that's sort of the big parts there. And along the way, I'll also replace the radio inside of the car. The stock one was stolen a long time ago, so it's got a cheap like JVC head unit in there. But I want to add like Android Auto and stuff like that in there as well. So that is kind of what's going on in there. And that sort of leads me to the last thing that I want to talk about, which is the future. So every single deadline I've set for this project, it's been blown. A lot of that has just been waiting on parts. 18 months for these parts has been, a real drag in that direction. But honestly, I had a lot of work to do to get ready to this point, and that's where I'm sitting right now. So I'm hoping that by spring, over the winter, that the engine will actually be running and I'll be able to start driving the car around for this upcoming year. that is kind of the state of the build right now, is waiting on parts, trying to figure out what to do with the interior, as well as figuring out air conditioning. So, hey, thanks guys so much for watching. If you like the build content that I'm putting together and you want to see more of it, don't forget to subscribe. Just sort of doing this for my own gratification, and I really appreciate any sort of feedback or comments that you guys have to provide. So, all right, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.